Hey YouTube. I just got back from work and something's been really heavy on my heart, and so this video is titled Using the Name of God in Vain. And so, we don't really talk about in today's culture the word vain or using something in vain anymore, so a lot of people don't know what that means. And what vain, what vanity is, it means to be empty or to be emptied of. When the Bible talks about beauty or lust, certain things being vain or vanity, it means that they ultimately have no meaning. They're without purpose. They're meaningless. And so using the name of God in vain, it means to be using His name casually, to be emptying Him of His holiness and righteousness and status of reverence as our Creator. And so using the name of God in vain, the reason that's so dangerous is because, well, we can see the effects on our culture. You know, this is what happened to me tonight. I'm at the bingo hall, and most of the people where I work are elderly. It's basically a senior thing that bingo is. And they're unsaved, so they're just, you know, they're the same as everyone else who's unsaved. Every other thing out of their mouth is, oh my G-O-D this, and Jesus Christ that. And so, you know, what do you hear? Ask yourself this. What do you hear when you hear Jesus Christ? Do you want to get down on your knees and worship? Or do you hear a four-letter filth word or something equivalent? That's very indicative of where your heart is at in relation to God and how much our current condition and the present status of our culture that you've adopted. Now, I should say this. It's not just cultural in the American sense. You know, this isn't just an American phenomenon. I've watched foreign films, Japanese kung fu films. I've even watched a film that was made in Brazil that was called Elite Squad, which was a decent film. But again, right there in the subtitles, they're not speaking English. They're using God's name in vain. They're using it casually in totally inappropriate circumstances. You know, they stub their toe and go, God. God, or Jesus Christ. And why? Why do human beings gravitate towards that? Why don't we do something else? I believe it's because our primary attribute, the defining attribute of man in his fallen condition, is a blasphemer, is blasphemy. That may be a strange way of thinking of it, but that is the biblical portrayal of fallen man. And that's why when Jesus came to earth, He was crucified by a large crowd of people who wanted Him dead, Jews and Gentiles. Man in his fallen nature hates God. Now you say, many atheists say, well, I don't believe in God, I can't hate something that I don't believe in. And yet these same people are very much anti-theists. They are so, not all of them, but a large majority, especially here on YouTube, are aggressively anti-God. And that's indicative of the human heart. And part of that is the fact that they use His name in vain. They empty it of reverence and meaning. And not only do they empty it, it's not merely a matter of ridding the name or using the word God without any real meaning behind it. Because if an atheist says he doesn't believe in God and then uses the word God in his vocabulary, well, if there's no correlation between the word and reality, well then he's using a nonsense word, gibberish. And reducing God to gibberish is obviously not the equivalent of using God as the sacred name of the Creator. You can see how distinct that contrast is, and if you can't detect a contrast, again, that's indicative of your heart. And what other word, other than God, could ever have the amount of status that it ought to have in terms of holiness and bigness and implications, and shouldn't that word more than any other word have meaning? And we don't think of this. We're very loose with our vocabulary. We can say what we want, but if any word ought to be carefully used, it's God. And if not, then what word ought to be carefully used other than God? And so I'd like to caution, especially Christians, and now I gotta sort of say this. I've heard Christians back at my school who do the same thing. Oh my G-O-D this and Jesus Christ that. And that is even worse than when an unbeliever does it, because they ought to know better. It is the third commandment, and God says He'll hold no one blameless who uses His name in vain. Now, there is also forgiveness, so let's be careful not to condemn anyone here. This is just a warning, because the effects on the human psyche and the culture and the world at large of rejecting God and using his name like this. You take God from his status to be revered, bring it down to a level of absolute gibberish and empty it of any meaning, so it's sort of neutral. It's just this word we get to throw around casually. But then it gets even worse. We start using his name as a curse word, as profanity. When I want to say, well, now I'm also going to say Jesus Christ and oh my God. There's got to be something wrong with that. And if you can't detect that, I'll pray for you. And so that's really what I wanted to say. And I think I've even seen children, small children, 4 and 5 years old, maybe even younger, doing the same thing because they're picking it up from their parents. Oh my God. They're using God's name without any reverence or meaning or carefulness. And so they adopt this, and we wonder why people grow up with no reverence for God. It's because no one else is reverencing him around them. And we very much adopt this attitude of blasphemy towards him. And this is why the Bible says, do not use the name of the Lord in vain. Do not empty it of reverence and meaning, because the effects on the culture are devastating. The rejection of God is devastating. We remove all holiness and sacredness, reverence and goodness, and we wonder why the world is as violent and crude and filthy and all that stuff that we now suffer today. It's because we're robbing God of his rightful place. We're using his name in vain. And so I thought I'd point that out. I also just want to tell you guys about a video that I'm planning to make. Maybe you guys saw that I'm wearing this costume that I've been building. I'm not telling you what it's for exactly or which character that I'll be portraying, but I've been working on a video for about 3 months now, and I've built a costume which took me a long time, and I've worked really hard on it. And you guys know I like to sort of dress up as comic book characters from time to time. So what I'm planning to do is make this video where I'll be in character, and I'm going to address the audience in a way that I've planned to do, and ask the YouTube people out there, which would be you, to respond to my character in your own character. Now, you could respond as you, but I really don't want people to say, well, Venom Fang X, who's playing this character, and then respond like that, because that'll just break the fun of it. I want to actually have people respond to me as if they're responding to that character, and then I'm going to respond to your responses, and we'll sort of do this role-playing thing. And I think that'll actually be an interesting way to dialogue in a way that we probably haven't before. And obviously it will have to do with God and the controversies here on YouTube. And so I think that's going to be a lot of fun if people want to actually participate. And I'm trying to do my best to make it something fun and exciting. And so I'm not telling you which character that I'll be playing, but I've actually dropped hints in some of my past videos. Just there's been props lying around and whatnot. If you know, I'd rather you don't go blurbing it in the comment section, just because I do want it to be a surprise. But in any event, if you figure it out, good for you. That video will be out real soon. It's almost done. So I'm really excited about that. I have never put this much work into any video I've ever done in terms of costuming and backgrounds. I've learned how to animate and do 3D animation. I've got voice actors, and I got people doing music. And if you're one of the people who did the music for me, if you could just send me a private message with your credit information, I may have lost that, and I want to give you due credit. So try to do that before I get this video out in a few days or a week. What else? And The Hunger Games. I read all 3 books and saw the movie, and I'm a big fan, so just wanted to say that. Other than that, God bless, and don't use his name in vain, especially if you're a Christian. I saw that tonight at my bingo hall, and I see it every day. And I'm always tense around unbelievers because I know it's coming out of their mouths sooner or later. You know, as a Christian, I'm so conscious of how often God is invoked around me in language and in culture and all that. But to an unbeliever, the word God has been so emptied of meaning and so degraded to now the status of a filthy word that you probably don't even notice how often that word gets thrown around. But if you start counting it, you're going to start to realize, whoa, this is a bigger thing than maybe you've considered before. So that's all I wanted to say, and I'll see you guys soon.